Welcome to the Life is Relationships podcast, where we share biblical truths about marriage, parenting, and discipleship. The desire of CTCI is to see the hearts of individuals and families restored in their relationship to the Father, and for them to be empowered to have thriving, godly relationships that impact the communities around them. I'm your host, AJ Selby, and on today's episode, we'll be talking with Susan Pons as she shares some stories of motherhood throughout the years within family and ministry. Take a listen. Well, Susan, thank you again so much for coming and joining us again. We're always so grateful when we get to talk to you.
Well, thank you again, AJ, for having me.
Well, Susan, you've been here for 41 years at CTCI, and I can only imagine in that amount of time what you have seen and experienced and walked through in regarding motherhood for you personally, and the things that you have walked through with so many other women. What are some of the most important things that you have learned and that you have shared with others over those 41 years?
Well, that's a big question, AJ. I know that because we lived in the ministry for 8 years, and now we just live up the hill for it.
And when you say in the ministry, I just want to clarify for everybody. You meant you lived for 8 years within the building.
Within the building.
That in that building is only 2, 4, 6. There's only 8 rooms in that building. Is that correct?
Oh, you mean bedrooms?
Yes.
No, I think there's now there is.
Now there are.
Then there were 13 rooms and 11 bathrooms.
Okay. So you lived in this one building
Yes.
for 8 years with your family of 4 children, and you did programs and you lived your life in this one place.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so we began raising our children. When we came here, Ellie was 6, Nikki was 4, the twins were 3. And we had to learn to separate our family in special moments. And I had to learn, first of all, my priority was Larry's, and my priority were our children, because we had different kinds of people coming here. And so motherhood, I had to prioritize motherhood in the midst of a lot of other people. And it was quite an experience. And I'm going to quote something your great-grandfather, Derek Prince, said, and I will never forget it. He said, "A ship in the ocean is good. It floats. Water in the ship is bad. It sinks. The church in the world is good. It floats. But the world in the church is bad. It sinks." So I think if I could describe a calling, it was to try to teach my girls, our girls, and the young women who passed through here what that exactly meant. And so no one called me mother except my own children. I didn't set myself as mother of all these girls. But it was a time of teaching young girls the way a godly woman should dress, should act, should have a relationship with a boy. It was those kind of years with our own girls, and then with others who passed through here, and with mothers who passed through here as well. I'll tell you one funny story that happened when our girls reached the teen years. And of course, the teen years brings about the itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. Okay?
Yes.
You get the gist of that?
Absolutely.
All right. So we lived close to Asheville, Atlanta, all of these different places, to find a bathing suit that was agreeable not just to them, but to me also. We could not find one that was mainly agreeable to me. So it was vacation time, and I told the girls, I said, look, we are going to Myrtle Beach. They will have thousands of bathing suits there. We'll just run out one morning and get one that is agreeable with both of us, with all three of us. Well, the first morning of our vacation, we went out to find a bathing suit.
Sounds like a journey.
It was unbelievable. Can I tell you how many bathing suit stores are in Myrtle Beach? Not counting the department stores as well. Well, I finally went into this. I would say it was an upper class clothing store. And I went in there and I said, Sir, do you by chance have any one piece, stylish, classy bathing suits? And he looked at me very sorrowfully. He said, Ma'am, we stopped carrying them last year. There was no market for them. So the girls and I continued our trek in and out of stores. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We were in a dressing room in this far away place. I couldn't even tell you the name of it. They were crying and I was crying
Oh,
in the dressing room. So I walked out, I went to the back of the store, and there in the back of the store were two classy one piece bathing suits. And I brought them into the dressing room to my two crying daughters. And Ellie said, Oh no, those look like they came out of the 50s. And I said, Try it on. I had lost all patience, all everything. Well, to make a long story short, I purchased the bathing suits. The girls sniveled in the car all the way home. They walked in, and the first thing that happened, the twins came running up and said, Oh, y'all should have been here today. We had so much fun. We were in the ocean, the pool. We had hot dogs, ice cream. They described the whole first day of vacation. And I was standing there with these two girls. And so Larry looked up at me and said, Where have y'all been? I said, Don't you dare ask. Just don't even ask. And Larry said, You got bathing suits? I said, Finally. And so Larry said, Well, show me. And the girls pulled them out of the bag like they were holding the bubonic plague and dangled them in front of Larry. And I turned into my mother. I said, Girls, don't you dare. Don't you dare act like this after I've been out all day long with you just to find something that was sensible. And I remember going back to the room. They were still crying. But the next day, they put the bathing suits on. And to this day, this is one of our favorite stories because we laugh about it now.
yeah.
But it was not funny then. But what I took away from that is that I won. There are times in raising children, you have to make up your mind who's going to win. And that day, I won, and I'm not sorry for it. In the years that followed, Nikki will tell you she hates Land's End catalog because I ordered bathing suits for them out of Land's End because it was the only catalog or any place I could find a decent one piece bathing suit. So that may seem harsh to many of your audience, but it was a time when I also read that scripture out of Psalm 137. How do we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And my answer was, you win and you buy a one piece bathing suit.
I think, gosh, that's such a funny story. And I think I've heard that one before. And one of the things that I think that strikes me is that within just the context of that one story is that you really lay out the example of you had the resolve that you were going to be their mother and not their
Yes,
friend.
absolutely.
And so you've seen this play out in other people's lives as well. What is it like, and what has been some of the advice that you've given, maybe even young mothers as they're starting to parent their children before they even reach the teen years,
Yes,
that you have found the value in mothering versus being their friend?
yes. Uh, Remember, AJ, the the war that happened in the early 90s, the Gulf War.
Mhm.
Well, the men from our community who were in the Guard were sent over there. And one of the fathers came to Larry and said, "Will you just help my wife, with the kids if any problems come up?" And Larry said, "I'll be happy to." Well, he wasn't gone a week, and we get a phone call. And it is a mother whose daughter was in the parking lot making out with a boy in the car before school started.
Okay.
So, anyway, Larry gets in the car and goes through that, takes her back to school, gives the boy a semi lecture. And when we were talking to the mother of this precious girl, she was just darling. The mother said, "Well, all I wanted to be was her friend." And Larry said, "Sorry, that's not gonna work. You've got to be a mother, especially in these circumstances. Your husband's gone for several months, and you have to be her mother." And putting motherhood while our children are growing up eventually does turn into friendship. Our girls now are probably my two best friends.
That is awesome.
It really is. But during those years of parenting them, um, I God called me to be a mother. And were there times I was a friend? Yes. But the first and the highest calling I had was to be their mother, first of all. I was there. I tried to be there. And it's something we teach here. When our kids come home, they should be coming into a refuge, a safe place, a place where when the world treats you bad, you come into a home that has peace in it. Because when you've been out there and, eh, with hatefulness in the schools, hatefulness, even in the body of Christ, it happens. But you need a landing place. And that's what our opinion was, that home was to be. It should be a landing place for our children and really for us as well. A place where we can just take a deep breath, we can talk things over and find out that you're still loved and that all of this will pass away. All of the dregs, as we were speaking of, will pass away.
Yeah. When it comes to, um, maybe there's a new mom out there listening today
Mhm.
that, is realizing that maybe she's been more of a friend to her child
Mhm.
than a mother. Where would you say is a good place for her to start? Maybe it could be a different standard. It could be different guidelines for the home.
Yes.
It could be anything. What is there anything that comes to mind, and maybe a few foundational things for her to start with in making sure that she is the mother and that she's not just being just the friend?
Yes. Well, it's so very important. I believe that a mother doesn't receive respect if she's just being a friend.
Mm,
And I believe that's where much of our children who go astray, they don't respect. If they're not respecting at home, they're not going to respect their teachers. They're not going to respect the police. They're not going to respect so very many other aspects of life. But if there comes that moment when you realize this is not working, my just being a friend to her or to her son even is just not working, that you sit down and you say, "Look, I have been wrong. I ask you to forgive me because I have allowed something to come into this home that should not be. And that is, I am your mother. And from this point on, you are going to respect me and you are going to listen to me. And I will not have you treat me like I'm like a rug."
Yeah.
And that's what it can easily turn into. And if that does not happen, and if a single mother out there is having that issue, I would go to a pastor. I would go to someone you can, a couple even, who could come in and help undergird you with those kind of situations. It is very difficult because there's just such a lack of respect.
Mhm. Yeah. What is what is one of the favorite things that you learned through motherhood of not just being a mother to your own children, but you truly have been a mother to so many other young women that have come through here. Not even just not even just young unmarried women, but young moms and other couples, wives that have come through here. Do you have any particular memories that are just one of your most fond memories
Yes.
of leading and guiding?
Well, we have quite a few, but I suppose it's so wonderful when there is a mother and a father. And I remember a particular couple that came in here. Their son was maybe 13, and they were having such a difficult time with him. And what it ended up being, the father was passive, and so the mother was trying to be a friend, as the father was to this particular boy, and it was not working out. But it was an amazing thing to watch when the father began to step in and impart fatherhood. The boy seemed to love it, and we saw a complete change in him. And then we had another situation where a couple from overseas came, and their son was older, like 21 or 22, still living at home, but going out at night, partying, doing drugs, uh, getting drunk, and heaven only knows what else. I won't go into the other situations. But he was living at home, and they were allowing him to do his thing. And he was telling them what he was going to do. And they didn't know what to do. So Larry laid it out. He said, "You give him a week to find a job. You have him, you say, if you're going to live in this house, you're going to make your own money, you're going to carry out the trash, you're going to make your own bed, you're going to be kind to your brothers and sisters. If you don't care to do that, there's the door." Now that may sound harsh, very, very harsh, but what happened, it turned uh that I won't even call him young man, because he acted like a 4-year old. It began turning him into a young man when his parents put the boundaries around what their home was going to be, because he literally was destroying their home and everyone who lived in it. As far as young women coming in, there have been times that I have taken them and bought, and the ministry has bought them different clothes, because what they arrived in was shocking. And they began to understand there was a different way to live. Now, when they left, did they keep that understanding? I can't promise you that, but I can promise you that before God, I gave it what I knew was righteous and holy before the Lord. And that's what I went on. And, we never had one leave because of that situation.
It's almost as if that when those situations arise, even though it's almost going back to your story of your girls on the search for the bathing suit,
Yes.
where in the moment it may have been frustrating for them or maybe even embarrassing a little bit.
Yes.
However, when they realized that you were there as a to be a mother to them and to care and watch out for them and to cover them,
Yes.
literally and figuratively, that the outcome that the love that they felt from that deepened the relationship and let them see themselves in a different way
Right.
because they were seen from a different mother's perspective.
That's right. And it wasn't easy for them. Nikki called me she was going to a swim party from school to one of her friends' houses. Well, I get this phone call from Nikki at the friend's house, and she says, Mom, I left my bathing suit at home, but my friend, I'll call her Kelly, has an extra bathing suit that fits me. And I said, Nikki, is it a bikini? And there was just quietness on the other end of the phone. And she said, yes. And I said, I'll be there in about 20 minutes with your bathing suit. But you see, am I a prig or a prude? I don't know. I would say that with our girls, that I was trying to teach them godliness. And the word tells us, says, older women teach younger women. Because we've been around the block a few times, more than a few.
Well, Susan, thank you so much once again for sharing so much wisdom and your own life lessons. This has just been a really beautiful time to get to spend with you and to talk over this with you. Do you have any parting words for any mothers out there that might be listening?
Well, just that it's all right that you win. It's all right that your girls, that you don't allow your girls, like Derek Prince spoke in that quote, that you don't let the world sink your girls. And that it's not just your answering to your girls, it is your answering to God to be that mother. And there will come a time when your girls will make their own choices. But you can stand before God someday and he will know, and you will know when you say, Lord, I did everything I knew to do. But they come at that age when they decide whether they're going to follow after his ways or not. But then it won't be yours to carry. It will be yours to pray.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me, AJ. It's been special.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and we would love if you left us a review. For more information about CTCI and our upcoming programs, be sure to check out ctcilife.org. This podcast is a production of Christian Training Center International. It is produced by AJ Selby, Rebecca Wall, and Seth Stradling. It is edited, mixed, and mastered by AJ Selby.